There's been quite the conversation about the Pittsburgh Steelers as of late, losing on Christmas Day to the Kansas City Chiefs, losing their grip on the AFC North lead after they've now hit a 3-game slide. Eagles, Ravens, and Chiefs with 2 of those games on the road. Tough slate, but
Yes.
Pittsburgh is unable to come out with a W in any of them. And now you wonder something else. I don't know if it's a lost season as Pittsburgh has clinched a postseason berth, but they're likely not going to win the AFC North. But Pittsburgh is into the playoffs on a season where maybe not a lot was expected of them. But Russell Wilson came in, took over the job, played well, but as of late hasn't been as good. Where are you, Kerry, right now with Mike Tomlin's Pittsburgh Steelers?
It's just coming back to reality. This team outperformed. They played really well. I think they took some people by surprise throughout the year. But this is just a team that isn't really talented enough to sustain the type of season they were having, right? So I'm not going to pile it all on Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has been adequate. He's played good football for the most part of the season. But I think you take away Pickens for 2 of those games, and obviously that's his main target down the field. You have Freiermuth, obviously, but the team just isn't talented enough around that position. So my whole take coming into this year was, if that's the case, then you put the quarterback in Justin Fields, who was there first, that could possibly make some plays on his own and change the trajectory of what that talent could be on the offense, and we get to see what he could be also being in the contract year. Now you give it to a situation where Russell Wilson, you hand it off to him when you're already 4-2, and now you kind of win. It's a story about me for like win now, or win now and win also possibly bigger later, with the being able to see of Justin Fields could be that guy. And I think that's kind of where I stand. Like, you won some games this year, but I don't think having Justin Fields in that position, you were going to lose those games either.
The drawing of the line is if Russell Wilson can win you the division, then it's worth putting Russell Wilson in as the starting quarterback. And it looked that way. It looked that way for a decent amount of the season until the last 2.5 weeks. And now you're at a spot where you talk about the absence of George Pickens. Terrell Owens feels that George Pickens' route running needs to get better. And that may be the case, but there's no doubt that Pickens is an extreme talent.
Yeah.
You're saying that it would be worth the Pittsburgh Steelers sacrificing a playoff spot, because that's where they are right now, to see if there was more with Justin Fields.
Yeah, I think they're still in the same position that they have Justin Fields. So I'm not saying they're sacrificing the playoff spot. I'm saying the way they play complementary football, Justin Fields can do the same thing. And I think there is a bigger upside of the talent, because Justin Fields is younger. He can extend plays, and he can run, and he can do certain things that you can do to add to that mix, right? So it's just a little bit extra, I think, there. And if it isn't the case, then you would know you don't have that guy with Justin Fields, and you have to get a quarterback anyway. Right now, as we stand, both of those guys aren't the quarterback moving forward. You know what I mean? So that's where I am.
I think Russ still is.
You think he's the quarterback moving forward?
Yes.
How many years?
I think in 2025 he would be their best option. I think if you figured out a way to get another wide receiver with him, and maybe it's George Pickens, and I don't consider Mike Williams that other wide receiver.
Yeah.
But if you had another piece, I think that you would owe it to Russell Wilson to see what he could do.
You don't think Justin Fields will have them in the same position right now if he was the quarterback?
It's all hypothetical.
I know,
but
for sure.
But I don't. I don't. I do think that Russell Wilson took that offense to a different place when he was inserted into the starting lineup coming back from his calf injury. I do think that they were more of a balanced team, a well-balanced team. Russell Wilson had 5 games of a passer rating of over 100.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the last 3 haven't turned out. I don't think Justin Fields wins any of these last 3 games, but I don't think it's a guarantee that Justin Fields wins, say, a shootout in Cincinnati against the Bengals or a tight game against the Ravens earlier on in the season, Justin Fields did have his limitations. And that's why Mike Tomlin said he had he gets paid the big bucks is to make the decisions to put Russell Wilson in. I think that the Steelers were a better team with Russell Wilson. I just think it's where you and I differ. I can go along with Justin Fields being the quarterback if you're willing to risk the 5 seed in the AFC in the playoffs or a wild card, because that's where they would be right now.
Yeah.
If you're willing to risk that to see if Justin Fields would be your guy of the future, I can get on board with that, but I don't think that Justin Fields is the same as Russell Wilson or better than what Russell Wilson performed for the Steelers this year. So if you wanted to sacrifice the playoff spot, say you don't make the playoffs, but Justin Fields was able to progress throughout the year, then that's the sacrifice you make. But I do think that they were a better team with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, that's an objective view on it. I think a lot of people agree with what you're saying as well. I think there's some people on my side as well. I mean, you talk about Justin Fields starting this season. They were 4-2. They beat the Broncos, who was a playoff team. They beat the Chargers, that's a playoff team. They played the Colts, they're still in contention, and the Falcons are still in contention. So these are teams that they play that are good teams, and they did enough to win those games. So to say that Russell Wilson was better than that, I just don't. It doesn't sit well with me, because I would rather see that guy not have his job taken for playing good football.
You wouldn't want a more balanced offense? Because that's what Russell Wilson provided.
Yeah, but we don't know that. We were limiting Justin Fields. They were limiting Justin Fields. You could tell by their play calling in those games. So I don't know if that's the case. They may know that, though. So, I don't know. But just from the outside looking in, they were telling him to get the ball out quick and not turn the ball over.
Jason Stewart, our executive producer.
Guys, I feel like I need to take a step back here and explain the difference a year makes. A year ago today, okay, Justin Fields was playing some pretty good football for the Bears. And how do I know that? I won my fantasy league with Justin Fields as my quarterback. I'm not exaggerating.
There you go.
He was playing pretty good football. To imagine that a year later, you guys would spend the first part of the show talking about a quarterback that the Bears lost, or a quarterback that the Bears did not support, and then the second part of this hour talking about Justin Fields on the Steelers deserving more playing time.
That's me. That's not that.
What a difference a year makes, though.
Yeah.
These two situations.
Jason also heard it from, was it the Bears fans when you said, like, boy, wouldn't it be nice to have Justin Fields right now? I'm paraphrasing. Right. There's that. And he heard it from the loyal Bear fan base, but maybe to that point.
And even take
2020.
Dan, even take it a step further. You're talking about Caleb Williams with the Bears and Steelers now. Let's talk about Russell Wilson with the Steelers and the Broncos. We thought that was the end in Denver, right? And then he comes here and he is playing good enough football for them to be where they are. So it's just the dichotomy of the NFL football and being in perfect situations matter.
Why ultimately do you think they chose Russell Wilson over Justin Fields?
Because they believe they could have made the playoffs, and you want to have a veteran quarterback in that position. So,
And so then that also lends the question to, which has been a criticism, fairly or unfairly, a criticism by some levied against Mike Tomlin, that he's more worried and that the organization is more worried about having a 500 record than actually trying to build a championship team again.
And I would agree with that. I mean, it's the proof is in the pudding. He hasn't had one of those.
I feel a bit bamboozled by the Pittsburgh Steelers, but we'll get to that later on in the program.